Sorry. There's happiness, of course, sadness, there's boredom, and there's actually such a thing as bored to death. That can be detrimental to your health, believe it or not. And there's fear, disgust, surprise, and anger. And these are the 7 universal signs that we all share. And some of the facts that you should know that you should not do, that is shared universally, is prolonged eye contact. You don't want to make really long eye contact. Excessive throat clearing or sighing when somebody's talking, or around the clock frowning. That makes everybody uncomfortable. Okay, next is how to spot a liar. Well, one of the ways you could spot a liar is the first thing that happens is your energy increases. So normally when that happens, the eyes will dilate. And this is also, goes back from years ago. It's because it opens up, your pupils dilate. And that means you're open to things. And then there's the person who does the excessive blinking when they lie, because they're actually like trying to blink it away, I think. And then there's the lack of eye contact, where they'll just stare at the ground, versus the eye stare, where they'll stare at you, thinking that they're throwing you off, but they're actually not. So when the pupils do dilate, that's also a fight or flight mode. That because our energies increase. And another thing that we do when we're uncomfortable, we do things like rub our neck to comfort ourselves. Another thing is when people are lying, they're less likely to touch their chest. They won't. If they're telling the truth, they would more likely say, I swear to God. But unless, of course, they could throw you off with that one too, because experts, a lot of, they actually have people come in for juries to watch them, and they get paid lots of money to watch body language. And another thing, when people are lying, their hands tend to, and their feet especially, tend to move around, and they'll do different things to kind of throw themselves. But you can't always go by that, because it might be just the way that they are used to talking, especially like Italian people. I notice they do that a lot. And then when people are lying, another thing they'll do is if they're behind a desk or something, they will tap their toes and move their feet around, their knees will go back and forth. With their mouth, they like to cover, they'll cover their mouths and they'll touch their nose a lot of times. Because they're excited, their tongue tends to dart in and out. I don't know if you know when you're excited, real excited, and some people get real stiff and tight-lipped. And also, another thing that's important is if somebody is smiling at you, it doesn't mean that they're a liar, but they're having a fake smile because their eyes don't match their mouth. So if somebody might smile with their mouth, but their eyes don't have that crinkle, so that means that they're not really happy. They're just faking it, putting it on. But if you go on, creating a positive impression, of course you want to smile, and you don't want to cross your arms, because that makes the other person feel that you're closed off, that you're not open. So whenever you're talking with somebody, you want to try to keep your hands to the side and be relaxed as possible. And also when you're creating a first impression, such as on a job interview, you have to smile even if you have to fake it. Sometimes we all have to do that. And when I thought it would be a good idea to talk about a handshake because when we were doing our job interviews, they were talking about how you should do that, and you should always offer your hand palm up. That means that you're open, you're not closed. And there's a three pump, they call it 1, 2, 3. And you also want to dress appropriately when you're making a positive impression, because you want to dress the way that you want to be perceived. If you want to be perceived as somebody, you know, who takes care of themselves, or doesn't mean that you're necessarily rich or anything. It doesn't have just neat and clean. And also there's with your eyes, when you want to create a good impression, you do not want to stare at somebody for too long. There's a 5-second rule. They say that you should not go over that because then you make the person feel uncomfortable. You can just glance away. And one of the ways that people do glance away is instead of staring at them in the eye, you could stare between their nose and their forehead. And that way it sort of takes the angle away. And also you want to show interest, you want to lean forward when you're talking with somebody.